Hello, everyone. Kyra Schaefer here from As You Wish Publishing at asyouwishpublishing.com. I am thrilled today to get to be with this Wednesday wow, beautiful person who I adore. Her name is Foxye Jackson. She is a registered nurse, a SANE certified youth mentoring coach, Reiki Master, transitions life coach advocate, all in together Southeast fellow and two-time best-selling author, actually international best-selling author. She has degrees in nursing and psychology and is the president of Foxye's I Speak, an organization that focuses on healing from sexual assault and violence, domestic violence, and mental abuse. She leads a monthly sexual assault and trauma support group, presents various events throughout the year to increase awareness, prevention, and healing related to sexual assault, and is always eager to speak about sexual assault and its effects. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on right now. Hello, Foxye.
Hello, Kyra.
It is so good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
I tell you what, I just adore you. I see you all over the place, but I never get to sit down and talk to you because
Yeah,
we are both such busy folks, but getting to share this space with you is wonderful. So thank you for being here.
absolutely. Thank you for the invite.
Sure. So we're going to talk about some really light stuff, really easy peasy, like whatever, airy fairy, domestic abuse, healing, healing domestic abuse. This is not a light subject, and it's not an easy subject. And the thing about it is that a lot of women and men have suffered from domestic violence and abuse, and it's just a huge topic. So you are pioneering the healing of helping people to shift out of old paradigms and to reclaim their power. And so I
Mhm.
just wanted to talk to you today about helping people heal from domestic abuse.
Yes, ma'am. I will say that the very first step to healing from domestic abuse is acknowledging that you're in an abusive situation because you cannot get the help, you cannot search for the help, you cannot listen until you acknowledge that this is an abusive situation. I had my I've had two marriages that were abusive. My second marriage, I didn't realize, I just knew it wasn't right. It didn't feel right. It made me feel sad and worthless and a lot of other negative adjectives. Um, but it wasn't until I was doing a project in my psych class. I had to design an attitudinal survey, and I did it over emotional abuse. And so I was checking over it before I turned it in and realized, oh my gosh, I'm saying yes to all of these questions. And it was like, I'm in an abusive relationship. Like, this is emotionally abusive. And from there, it was like that push that I needed to start planning. Whenever there's a domestic violence situation, there has to be planning because it is one of the most volatile situations there is. Many people die, and it's not just the people who are in the relationship. Sometimes it's the police officers who are responding, sometimes it's the children. Who are being used as bait or pawns in the situation. And sometimes it's innocent family members who are there, just happen to be there. Um, in my situation, I did the planning on my own. I really didn't have anyone to talk to that said, yes, you're in an abusive situation, because the culture was just pray about it. Just pray over him and he'll change, and ask God to change him. And you just do what you're supposed to do, and don't get on his nerves or don't upset him, and then he won't be so abusive or he won't be that way. Um, and we still have that culture. hardcore people blame the victim regardless. Like you can be dead and they will still blame you for someone else killing you. Um, and so I did one of the, like I said, the biggest thing is planning because you have to know when a good time is. Um, when people are in abusive situations, they go through cycles. There's the honeymoon cycle where everything is lovely. And then there's the cycle where it's like a build up cycle where it's like building up the intensity that, they're pinpointing everything. It feels like you're walking on eggshells. And then there's the big blow up. And after the blow up, which can be sexual assault, where they're making you have sex with them and you don't want to. It can be physical assault where they're hitting you. It can be emotional abuse where they're hitting other things. Maybe they strike your pet, or maybe they punch the wall, or they break your phone, or things like that, or they make threats. Um, and so those cycles. And it's very important for people on the outside to understand that because when the woman or the man is in the relationship and they say, I can't leave right now, they know that they can't leave right now or they will end up dead. And so with the planning, I arranged to have, um, I got some place to stay that was away from where we lived. I worked on saving up the deposit. I went to food pantries and stocked up my food supply. I packed in sight, so to speak. So I was packing, but it looked like I was redecorating. Yeah.
Mm.
So I packed in sight and I had phone numbers and things like that in my phone. Um, I had one person that I trusted to tell where I was. And so when he went to work, I knew that gave me some hours to get out. And so I got all my stuff that I could carry in my Suburban out. I took the children somewhere where they were safe and I just did it. I pulled everything out of the house that I could pull out and packed the truck and unloaded it all on my own. I didn't ask for any help because sometimes those people who help you will be the very ones who tell your person where you are, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were safe to stay there because nobody knew where we were except for her. And her husband worked for the FBI, so we didn't really have to worry about her telling. However, because of the mental part of it, I felt obligated as his wife to feed him because culturally, you take care of your husband. And I did all the cooking, I did all the cleaning and the washing. So I would go and buy him breakfast and take him breakfast every morning after I moved out. And of course, that led to me allowing him to come back and stay. And then he found out where we were. And so everything was okay for like 3 months. He usually lasted about 3 months and then he'd cycle off because he was also on drugs. And I didn't know that he was on drugs when we met. Um, Kind of like a functioning drug addict, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when it came the last time that I left, we were in the Suburban. I was driving, and all the children were in the car. And he started talking about, he always accused me of being with someone else. Didn't matter. You could go to the grocery store, you've been with somebody. I could ride around doing home health visits, and because my scrubs were wrinkled, I'd been with somebody. I would have to get checked when I got home. So he would make me take my clothes off and he would check to make sure that I hadn't been having sex. Um, I had the odometer settings were checked to make sure that the mileage on my paperwork matched the mileage that it would take for me to leave home, go to work, and go to those visits and come back home. And so we were riding around, and he said, if I ever see you with someone else, I'll kill you. And I said, kill me now, because what I'm not going to do is live in fear. So just go ahead and kill me now, because it doesn't matter if you see me with someone or not. You're going to assume I am, and you're going to go ahead and attack me. So just go ahead and get it over with now. And from there, it was the intimidation of walking up behind you and putting an arm on either side of you while you're at the sink washing dishes, saying stuff in your ear that no one else can hear. And so I did it again. Now, mind you, I was the one paying all the bills because I was still a nurse. However, I still felt like I couldn't do it on my own because I had been conditioned by him that I needed him. And so I started packing in sight again, but I wasn't packing my stuff. I was packing his stuff. So the the home that we had moved into was an older home, and the closets were like, maybe it was back in the 30s that they built this house. So they were really small closets. People only had maybe four outfits because that's all that would fit in that closet. So I
Mhm.
bought a rollaway armoire, and I put all his clothes in there so that he could have room when he moved in. And so when it was time to move him out, all I had to do was roll his buggy of clothes out under the carport, change all the locks, and go find somewhere else. It's funny now, but it was, I just rolled his stuff out. I had bought packing boxes and slid them behind the dresser. And so I put those together and threw all his stuff in there, labeled, I even labeled it. So I was still a good little wife. And I put it under the carport. And my children and I went on a road trip.
I'm telling. All right, if any. All right, y'all listening. Okay, so listen, she has just broken down for you just about every abused woman's mental process if they have their stuff together. And I really I mean that wholeheartedly. That's amazing. That's amazing because you know that somewhere inside of you, you knew you were, I'll just say, wrong, by continuing to take him back. Your soul, your
Yeah.
spirit, your internal guidance, your compass was like, this is not going to end
Yeah.
well. Let's go ahead. Let's just go ahead, put some boxes away.
Yep.
Just our little rolling armoire in the back of the closet. Let's get ready because it's going to happen. You know, your subconscious
Yep.
mind, that's where we want to go with it, is like, hey, well, listen, I know you're going to do it anyway. Let's
Yep.
just let's just prepare for the end.
Yep. Well, the one thing, and I was thinking, I mean, it's important that if you are in an abusive relationship, it's almost like you need to read the book, The Art of War. I
Yes,
never read it, but you have to prepare yourself for war.
this all sounds really loving. This is so loving.
This is probably the first thing that anyone has ever heard about that it has to do with domestic violence where the people are laughing because I mean you have to laugh to get
Oh
through
yeah.
it.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. You have
it's
to.
like war tactics, like you need to watch some war movies or something and start understanding how they do war. Go to the VAs and listen to some
Yes,
vets
just
talk,
listen to those folks. They
something,
know what's up.
because it's important when women are in abusive relationships. A lot of times they have a problem with talking, and they
Yeah,
when they talk, they don't say the things they should say, but they
yeah,
tell everything that they shouldn't tell.
yeah,
And so they're usually honest. And so when someone asks them something, their partner asks them something, they tell the truth, thinking that telling the truth is going to prevent the abuse.
yeah.
Sometimes you have to learn how to keep your mouth shut. And that was very hard for me because I was so used to telling him everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I
When
couldn't
you
tell
get
him,
conditioned, you get conditioned to
yeah,
tell them everything.
you
Mm-hmm.
do. And it's like a coercion, like you coerce me to tell you everything so that I think that I can avoid an abusive situation, but it just leads to more abuse. It
Yeah.
just leads to, I mean, it was like I would come home and I would walk in the house and he would be there, the children are at school, and he starts wanting to kiss and hug, and now you want to have sex. So I'm like, okay, today's going to be a good day. He's in a good mood. And then as soon as he finishes having sex, he says, I just wanted to see if you've been fucking somebody.
Right.
And it's like the degradation of that is like you don't want to do it anymore. But then if you don't have sex with them, then it's because you've been having sex with someone else. So
Right.
it's like they call it domestic violence, but it's such a holistic abuse,
Yep.
because there's the sexual coercion afterwards, there's the emotional abuse of everything that's going on, and then there's the actual physical abuse. And back to talking about war, like there are war tactics, like you have to prepare, you can't just strike out, and that's a lot of times when women go and they have group, they go counseling, or they get that motivation or that courage to leave. Oftentimes they want to tell that to the person, I don't need you anyway, I'm going to leave. And as soon as you say I'm going to leave, they are going to escalate whatever they've been doing so that they can make sure that you don't leave, and so it spoils your plan. You got to be quiet.
Okay, I think that's the lesson of the day is shh. Be quiet.
Go meditate. Go
Yes.
But don't journal about your escape plan. Just journal about how the butterflies are flying and use code words or something. I mean,
it's so huge, Foxye. And for those of you listening, it can be very, very subtle. Obviously this is, some of the things that you're saying are very blatant, but some of them are really subtle. In my abusive relationship, some of the things that he started doing was obviously it still bothers me, but and this is a thing, yes, 20 years later it still affects us. It's not like it's like, oh well, this was something that happened a long time ago, I'm totally forgotten about it, and I've done my healing. And yes, I have done my healing in order to attract a man into my life that would get run over by a car rather than be abusive to me in any regard. Even though we still have our fights, even though we still have our disagreements, that's just normal. That's a good thing. There's healthy disagreements and there's unhealthy disagreements.
Right.
But one of the things that he would do, the ex would do, was I would bend over to get something out of the dishwasher or whatever, and he would stick his finger in my rear end, and he would do it hard and quick. And it's just a dominance play. Or I would yawn and he would stick his finger in my mouth to make me stop yawning. It's like such a little thing, but that's what I could remember were being some of the first stages. He also called me Cartman, which is a South Park character who was the bigger kid, out of a derogatory, statement when I put on a couple of extra pounds. So instead of, that's not love. But after you've been enmeshed in it for so long, you tell yourself stories, like, oh, well, he's just being intimate, or I lie to myself. And so the day that I decided that enough was enough, I had already started putting money away. Put money away, put money away, put money away. Don't tell anyone. Put money away, put money away. Put it in that little secret side account that nobody knows anything about. Or not even in an account, in a jar in the closet labeled nails or something. And and then and then that day that he beat me real bad. He had done it before, but now it wasn't bad yet. It hadn't gotten to the point where I didn't have some kind of leverage in my mind, or I believed that I had some kind of leverage, that it wasn't that bad, or, it's fine. We were just fighting. We're just fist fighting, and play fighting and this kind of nonsense. And so one day I said, I'm done. I have to leave. And even though I didn't tell anyone and it was all internal, that was the day that he decided to beat the living hell out of me on my front porch, which was a really good thing because I had a witness. And so many women don't have witnesses.
Right.
And when we got to court, because that was our blow up, it wasn't like I didn't plan. It just went nuts. And it was like my soul, my spirit, my being was saying, okay, enough. What are you going to do now? You know? But when it got to court, they said he was so blacked out drunk, he can't remember a thing. What do you want to do to him? That is a luxury not a lot of women get. What do you want to do to him? How do you want him to pay? And I was like,
yeah, they saw that.
What are my choices? They said you can give him 30 days in jail, or you can, I mean, like, you give him 30 days in jail, or you can make him take a year worth of services, anger management, AA, and some other stuff. And I was like, I want the services. Not because I think he's going to learn a damn thing, but because 30 days is a long time to plan revenge.
Right.
And that's all I could think of. He's just going to get meaner, stronger, and more ideas are going to come to him on how he can torture me. So if I do it this way, maybe I can, maybe something will get in. It didn't, but you know, I had hopes.
Yeah. But it got him away from you, because a lot of people will get upset with a woman because she didn't press charges or she didn't call the police, and they don't understand that. Kyra, I think you're frozen. Oh no.
Okay, sorry. I think we
there you are.
Out. it was
energy poking the thing like, Kyra, I think you're frozen.
Was I frozen like this?
You were frozen like, you were very intently listening. I said, well, she's listening too well. She hasn't moved. Okay.
Woo! Too much energy. It's too much energy.
We do. So when outsiders looking in get upset with the woman for not pressing charges or not sending him to jail, they don't realize all the things that he may have said or she may have said or implied by way of watching it on television and say, if you ever do this, I'm going to do that. Or you better not ever call the police or I'll kill so-and-so and so-and-so. And so they have those things that are resting up on them, and they already have a lot of guilt because they're at that level of calibration. If you want to talk about David Hawkins' Power versus Force, they're at the lowest of the low. And so they can only think of all the negative things, and everything's going to be their fault because that's just how they've been conditioned to believe that this is your fault. I do this because you do this to me or because you're this way. Yeah. And we have to understand that that woman is in survival. So even when you go to war, there's sometimes you have to go ahead and be a prisoner of war. And sometimes you can't send them to the prison camp because it'd be worse on the whole organization. So just having the ones on the outside that, you know, have the prideful, I wouldn't let anybody do that to me. And you don't realize that you're already in something like that, but it's not that bad. Yeah. It only gets worse. I was with one. It only gets worse. It may start off as like you're pinned up against the wall. And then the next thing you know, they've punched the wall by your head. And then the next thing you know, they've punched something that's close to you, or it's just like it just progressively gets worse. Yeah. And it's because it's about power. So if your power only gets you to point A and you want to go to point B, then you have to put in more power to get them there. or I guess we would say force. You have to force them into that direction, and that's how you force them. Um, because once you have the mind, the body follows. And the way that we take control of our mind is to actually make a decision to take control of your mind and understand that you have the power to take control of your mind. There was a lot, I journaled before it was the thing to do.
Yeah.
I was journaling because I was so angry and I had no one to talk to. And when I used to teach a Sunday school class. Well, I taught for like 13, 14 years. And I would teach them to write in a journal to God and whatever they wanted to write it down in the journal. Not understanding any universal laws, not understanding any, you know, attraction laws or anything like that. I just knew that if you wrote it down, it would come to pass. And so I got a lot of people to writing. And so I would write too. And when I would get upset or sad, I would write in the journal. And it was the only way. It was like at the time, the God was the only person that I could talk to that I felt like would sit there and listen and not tell me to stay. And I kept reminding myself that, people at the church were saying, well, the Bible says you're not supposed to divorce. Y'all are now one and you're supposed to stay with him. And myself was saying, but this is not how God wants me to live. I shouldn't have to live like this. It doesn't feel right. And why would he want me to feel like this if he's supposed to be love? And I kept reminding myself too that staying there teaches my children that this is what you accept, that this is okay. And I know a lot of people say they stay for the children or they stay because they don't have the money. There are plenty of resources out there. Once you acknowledge that it's time to go, you can find the resources, even if that means living in the shelter. Because I slept on the floor with my children with their mattresses. That's all we took out. That's all I could get out. All of their mattresses, their clothes, the dishes, and my clothes, and that was it. That's all we had. I was like, I'll start over. Whatever I have to do, I'll start over. And you have to be willing to start over sometimes to get out of that. There are, of course, there's support groups of other women who have been through it and got out of it. There are books that talk about becoming aware of yourself, aware of your surroundings. Um, I really, a lot of people say empowerment, but that's, to me, that means I got to put power in you. But I don't need to put power in you because it's already in you. You just need to awaken it and learn that you can use it and how to use it. Meditation, the candle exercise, which is exercise I learned in the School of Metaphysics, helps you to control your thoughts, to acknowledge your.
Tell them what that one is. Tell them, because there's a couple of them, and I'm just going, and I don't know if it's the same one. But what is your candle exercise?
So the candle exercise, we had to light a candle, of course. You have to use a match. You have a pencil, not a pen, a pencil and a piece of paper. And you focus your energy and your attention on the candle, the candle light. Whenever your focus leaves, like some random thought comes in, you would just write a mark. You would do that for increments of like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or however it was easiest for you to do. And you build it up. And so then you start to recognize your thoughts. I extended it and expounded on it because I teach other types of classes. So once you start recognizing your thoughts, then you'll know how your mind thinks. Because a lot of times we will absorb the thoughts of other people and they're not ours. We'll absorb the emotions of other people and they're not ours. And so we're running around depressed and we're anxious and we're thinking bad thoughts about ourselves, but those aren't our thoughts. That's not how our brain works. And so it's just it's like a step by step of learning who you really are so that you can awaken the power that's within you already. because it's dimmed by other people's thoughts and emotions.
So true. So true. That's a great exercise. Yeah, it's learning what the differences between your thoughts, your reality, and other people's reality is powerful.
Yes.
The candle exercise that I've done that was helpful for me when I first started was to help focus mine was that I would stare at a candle flame. There's two of them, but I would stare at the candle flame so long, at least like 30 seconds or so. And then I would close my eyes, and then you would see the kind of candle flame or the outline negative. And then I would focus on that for as long as I possibly could. And I would try to make it bigger and smaller. So it's kind of like my ego brain has something to do while my other parts are healing. You know, because ego brain starts to get in there and tries to tell you how you're not and what you didn't and how you can't and how everybody else thinks this and that and all this stuff. But when it has to focus on the candle, then it's like, well, now what? Spirit's like, hey, hold on. We got some healing to do. Hold on. She's totally distracted right now. Let's get in there. It's the art of war candle meditation.
It is. You know, we need to do that. We're gonna put that in the As You Wish, the little paraphernalia. It's gonna be the Art of War candle. Yes.
Oh my God, I got work to do.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so we know it's no laughing matter, of course, but when you have gone through it and you've healed major elements of domestic abuse and violence, and you come out the other side, being able to honor, you know, what you've experienced by continuing to make better choices for yourself, not the best and the only, and you are always making the best right choice all the time, but just making one little bit better choice today than you would have made yesterday. And keep on moving down the line, you will get to this point where you can laugh because you see, and this is my opinion, not necessarily Foxy's, but where you can see the absurdity of the old way of doing things and go, what was I thinking? My mother, who was also a domestic violence survivor, as a matter of fact, my father, she put her pregnant belly in the corner while my father was hitting her and throwing pots and pans at her, and she had to leave him. And so there's something, I think, that just trickles down the line. My grandmother also went through that. And there's something where we have to say the buck stops here. We're going to make a better choice than what our families have made and what their, you know, previous people and all of our ancestral healing has to culminate into this, like, hold on, buck stops here. We're making a better choice. We're not going to go backwards. And we have to do that for our kids, just like you were saying. And so my mother used to say, she would say, I think God, if I believed in God, which I don't know if she does or not. She's never let me have that conversation with her yet. But she said, if there is one, he just kind of was like, you're dumb. You're just dumb. We're getting you out of this situation. You are too dumb to, you know, you're just so naive. We got to get you out of here. And she felt like that's what has kept her really safe ultimately all along the way. And I think that's great, very humble and that kind of thing for her to have believed that, you know, many years ago. But to say something is keeping us safe because they know that we don't know what we're doing. You know, we're just adult children in that way. And but anyway, yeah. So I think we've got that thing looking out for us all the time, whatever that thing is for you.
Absolutely.
So if you have anything you want to close up and finish up for our friends here listening that might be going through this right now.
Yes, I would tell you that I know we talk about right and wrong decisions. Whenever you're in a domestic violence, and I hope you can hear me over the rain. Whenever you're in an abusive relationship, whatever decision you make is going to be the right decision. It's a very difficult truth, but it's going to be the right decision. If you stay, that's going to be the right decision for right then. If you go, it's going to be the right decision for right then. The biggest part of my healing was to understand what lesson was I supposed to learn going through that, because I didn't just have one abusive marriage, I had two. So what was it that I was supposed to learn? And one of the main things was to love myself. To love myself enough to tell people that I have to set boundaries. Like, this is my boundary, and when you go over this boundary, it's not okay. And so many times as parents, we take away boundaries from our children. I have a therapist, Diana Ryan. She's over 360 coaching and counseling here in Dallas. And she teaches a course, a session for me that's called Boundaries. And one of the examples she used was her little boy wanted cookies. But he was in that stage of life where he's saying no to everything. And she'd say, clean your room. No. Close the door. No. You want cookies? No. And so she would roll the package up and put it back up on the refrigerator. And she would do that because he just, everything was no, whatever she asked him to do. And so he had to learn whenever he said no to the cookies, that meant you're not getting any. And she would put them back up. And so then he started to think and process, if I say no, this happens. If I say yes, this happens. Instead of, I said, clean your room.
Right.
And the child says no. And I'm not saying don't discipline the children. It's a point that if she had said, no, you have to do it because I told you to do it. Right then, we're taking away the power of the word no. No has no meaning in this house. Because if you tell me no, it doesn't mean anything because I'm going to make you do it anyway.
Aha.
So in allowing him to have the power over the word no, he has been able to set boundaries for himself so that when he says no, he means no. And he expects others to respect his no. But when we take the power away for the word no for our children, when they say no, they feel like that's not a solid boundary. Because if someone says, no, you have to do it because I said so, then they will move their boundary back until they no longer have boundaries. And then we carry that into adulthood. And we have a failure to set our boundaries, not just for other people, but for ourselves. So I have a boundary now. You're not going to talk to me that way. You're not going to yell at me. So my husband already knows if you yell at me, that's the end of the conversation. Because we're not having a conversation right now. We're yelling. And it's a trigger for me. Like it's still a trigger for me. And if you yell, I completely shut down. Like I'm not listening to you or anything. And, we recognize your triggers. If you're with a partner after a domestic violence situation or any kind of abusive situation, know your triggers and talk to that person about your triggers, because they can trigger you and you not even know it. And you just go off on them. I've done that before. So that's why I'm telling you, you might want to let them know.
This will not end well for you.
So know your triggers, acknowledge that you're in an abusive situation, be okay acknowledging that to yourself. Love yourself enough to know yourself, learn who you are, be that through meditation, through journaling, whatever you feel safe doing. If you have to journal and you're afraid they'll find it, journal and burn it up. Use washable ink or invisible ink, whatever you have to do, and seek help, get some resources. Do some research. Use the private search thing on the internet to search for different resources.
Yeah, you can do incognito. It's on Chrome. Yeah. So and delete your history. Like just become like a secret agent.
Yeah.
For your emotional, mental, and physical health.
Yes.
Because if you have someone that's always looking through your emails and always trying to get you to, is looking at the bank account and all that stuff, you cannot let them find any of that stuff.
Right.
It could be even worse.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I hid my money and all that stuff.
Please listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
That's that little voice in you that says, no, don't go that way. Or grab your keys now. And you're like, I don't need my keys. Grab your keys. Okay. Don't give him the gun. Or y'all probably need to leave. Or you probably want to go to the store right now. Just whatever your intuition is telling you, it's trying to protect you. And that intuition can be whatever you want to call it. It can be the spirit, it can be the universe, it can be your inner self, it can be God, it can be Holy Ghost, whatever you want to call it. Listen to it, please. I'm not caught up on words and labels. Just listen to that voice that's inside you that is trying its best to protect you.
I absolutely 100% agree. This is there is something really powerful in that. And I know that even that day, when everything, for me changed, it all changed. When he knocked me unconscious and he was kicking me in the head, but I sat up. I was probably in shock. Some people say shock. I say an awakening. And I sat up all jacked up, and I felt that presence. I felt that presence of God. And I said, all right, God, either kill me now or let me be of service. I can do this. Let me be of service. I think I can do better. And I got up. I went in the house, which was crazy stupid because that's where he was. I should have had my keys, right? And I got in the house and I used this walk phone. That's how we had back then. We had the walk phone. All right. Y'all know what a walk phone is. Yep. And I dialed 911 and I said, we are having a domestic disturbance. Just as calm and as easy. And again, that's one of those things that somebody on the outside looking in will go, why were you so calm? It was because Lord Jesus, something, Krishna, Buddha, somebody had done an angel, I don't know what, but it was not me any longer. Because me being that stable, that clear, that concise, that was just not who I was. And so at that time, but while I was on the phone, he headbutted me. And I said to the lady said, are you okay? What's wrong? And I said, he just headbutted me. And she was like, can you leave? Like, why are you still there? The dispatcher was like, there's something wrong with you, lady. Get out of there.
Yes, I'm in trauma brain right now.
Right. I'm in trauma brain. Exactly. So it's just it's just so fascinating, how everything kind of plays together. But we have that moment, and that day we had done like this whole energetic clearing of our house. I did with some friends, and it was like that moment when you're done. And so maybe if you're listening, you're not sure if you're done yet. And when we are not sure if we're done, we can go back into bad situations, or we could go back into the house, or we can go back to that person. And that's the part that can be really scary, I think, too. In Virginia, there is a reconciliation kind of law thing where if well, maybe that's not the right term, but where if I accuse him of abuse and he got picked up that night by the police, but what he could do is he could turn around and accuse me of assaulting him, sight unseen, without any evidence. And then I would have to go turn myself in because there was a warrant out for my arrest. So what happened was that that not only did I have to go in with a just black and blue face, where the guy, when he processed me, he said, wow, he really thumped you good, because they're Southern. And I said, yes, sir, he did. And he said, oh, whoops, I'm sorry. you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this sucks. And then after that, what they did was they made me lose my witness protection because I got accused of the same crime. And I told the gal, I said, this is the reason why women go back to their husbands, is because you leave them without any resources.
Right.
So, Foxye and I both understand that if you're in a situation right now where you feel like you can't leave and it's not safe for you or your kids, we get it. I don't think either one of us is telling you to leave right now or anything. We're saying plan. Foxy's saying plan. I'm saying plan. Take your time. You know all the things you need to do to stay safe right now. Yeah. And get the resources, just like Foxye was saying. But if you're going out to a group counseling or something like that, you're going to have to call it something else.
Yeah.
because he may not, or she may not buy that. And then you're out having sex with people. So you know what's best for you. And we're definitely not trying to tell you that. And this isn't a substitute for mental, emotional, physical help or care. Everybody has their own personal journey with this, and that's not lost on us.
Nope. Not at all.
Woo!
That was a big one, Kyra.
Girl, I haven't talked about this stuff in 20 years.
Look, and while you're at it, there are plenty books at As You Wish Publishing that can inspire you and motivate you. They can help you pick up the broken pieces. Grab one.
Girl, I need to get one right now.
Right? There's one called Inspirations. There's one called Manifestations. Whatever you want to do.
These are both Foxye books. Oh my gosh, Foxye, thank you so much for taking your time. I know you got to get to work too. How can people reach out to you or find you if they need some care? Yeah,
I am on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I don't do much Twitter because, as I Speak Foxye or as Foxy's I Speak. And you can just look up my name, Foxye Jackson, and my page is open. So anybody's welcome on there and I can direct you to the group. There's a group called I Speak Foxye, and I only allow things to be posted there that inspire you, that motivate you, that educate you when it comes to any of the different violences or abuses. And that's for men and women, because I've had numerous men be in domestic violence situations.
Yeah.
My email is on there. It's foxybjackson@gmail.com. And my name is Foxye. If you leave the E off, you won't find me. Oh my gosh, I have bars.
Oh my gosh, Foxye, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad we both did our hair the same today. That makes me very happy.
We were on the same wavelength.
I just want to shout out to Louisa who popped in here. She said that was great info. So if you're needing help, please go out. Please seek it. Foxye, as always, you are a light in this world. Keep being you. You're awesome.
Awesomeness. You too, Kyra. You keep us writing.
Oh, I will. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe, hit the notification button, hit a thumbs up. If you hit a thumbs down, it might hurt my self-esteem, so please don't do that. And we will see you all again next week for another Wednesday Wow. Take care.
Yes.